Those are official FBI credentials. Badge number FL7624. You can verify.
You look fake as hell. You don't look like any FBI agent I've ever seen.
The dashboard camera captured everything. A federal agent, dressed in a suit after a long day of investigating organized crime, sat in his car with his hands visible on the steering wheel. What happened next during that routine traffic stop would destroy a police officer's career, spark a federal investigation, and result in one of the largest civil rights lawsuits in the state's history. The entire incident lasted 17 minutes, but those 17 minutes would change multiple lives forever and expose a problem that had been hidden in plain sight for years. Before we continue, where are you watching from? If you're new here, please hit that subscribe button. This story gets more intense with every minute, and you don't want to miss what happens next. Now, let's get back to what really happened that night. Vincent Taylor had been with the FBI for 12 years. He wasn't fresh out of the academy. He wasn't inexperienced. He had worked on cases involving drug cartels, human trafficking rings, and public corruption. On this particular Tuesday evening in September, he was driving home from the FBI field office in his personal vehicle, a black sedan, still wearing his work suit and tie. The time was 8:47 p.m. when the police cruiser's lights flashed behind him on Highway 52, just outside the city limits. Vincent checked his speedometer. He had been going 63 in a 65 zone. He wasn't speeding. He signaled and pulled over to the shoulder, confused but calm. He had been pulled over before in his life, like most people. He knew the routine. Officer Kyle Henderson had been with the local police department for 6 years. His record showed 15 complaints from citizens over those 6 years, but none had resulted in serious discipline. Most complaints were dismissed after internal review. Henderson approached the vehicle with his hand near his weapon, which was standard procedure. But what wasn't standard was what came next. Vincent rolled down his window completely and immediately placed both hands on the steering wheel where they could be clearly seen. He didn't reach for anything. He didn't make sudden movements. Henderson shined his flashlight directly into Vincent's face, holding it there longer than necessary. The officer demanded license and registration without stating why Vincent had been stopped. This was already a violation of department policy, which required officers to inform drivers of the reason for the stop. Vincent calmly asked why he had been pulled over. Henderson's response was to repeat his demand, louder this time. Vincent slowly informed the officer that he was a federal agent and that his credentials were in his jacket pocket. He asked permission to reach for them. Henderson laughed, not a small chuckle but a full laugh. The dashboard camera in the police cruiser picked up the audio clearly. Henderson told Vincent to step out of the vehicle. Vincent complied immediately. He moved slowly, keeping his hands visible. Once out of the car, he again asked permission to retrieve his FBI credentials. Henderson refused and ordered him to place his hands on the hood of the car. What happened over the next 12 minutes was documented by both the police cruiser's dashboard camera and the body camera that Henderson was wearing. Vincent was patted down roughly. Henderson found Vincent's FBI badge and credentials in his jacket pocket during the search. He looked at them, examined them closely under his flashlight, and then made a comment about them being fake. Vincent remained calm. He provided his badge number and the direct phone number to the FBI field office. He suggested that Henderson call to verify his identity. Henderson refused. Instead, he called for backup, claiming he had pulled over someone impersonating a federal officer. 2 more police cruisers arrived within minutes. Officers Greg Paulson and Lisa Martinez stepped out of their vehicles. Vincent explained the situation to them calmly, providing his credentials again. Martinez looked uncomfortable. She examined the FBI badge and credentials carefully. She suggested to Henderson that they should verify the identification before proceeding. Henderson dismissed her suggestion. He made several comments about Vincent that were captured on camera. He questioned how someone like Vincent could afford the suit he was wearing. He suggested the car might be stolen. He implied that the FBI credentials were definitely fake because, in his words, Vincent didn't look like an FBI agent. Vincent asked directly what he had been pulled over for. Henderson claimed he had been swerving between lanes. This was a lie. The dashboard camera footage from Henderson's cruiser, reviewed later, showed Vincent's car maintaining its lane perfectly for the entire time Henderson had been following him. Martinez again suggested calling the FBI field office. Henderson told her to run Vincent's license plate instead. She returned to her cruiser and ran the plate. It came back clean, registered to Vincent Taylor at his home address, no warrants, no flags. Martinez returned and quietly told Henderson that everything checked out. Henderson ignored this information. He instructed Paulson to handcuff Vincent. Paulson hesitated. The hesitation was brief, but visible on camera. He looked at Martinez, who shook her head slightly, but Henderson repeated the order. Vincent was handcuffed. He did not resist. He did not raise his voice. He stated clearly and calmly that he was a federal agent, that he had provided his credentials, and that this detainment was unlawful. He informed them that everything was being recorded and that he would be filing a formal complaint. Henderson's response was to mock Vincent's speech pattern. He laughed again and made a comment suggesting that Vincent must have stolen the credentials from a real FBI agent. He told Vincent he was being arrested for impersonating a federal officer and driving a possibly stolen vehicle. Vincent was placed in the back of Henderson's police cruiser. He sat there handcuffed for another 23 minutes while Henderson searched his vehicle without consent and without probable cause. Martinez stood by her cruiser, looking increasingly worried. Paulson helped with the search but appeared uncomfortable. During the search, Henderson found Vincent's FBI-issued firearm in a locked box in the trunk, which was completely legal and standard for federal agents. He also found case files that Vincent was bringing home to review, which were in a secure briefcase. Henderson opened the briefcase, violating federal protocol regarding classified materials. Martinez finally made a decision. While Henderson was occupied with the search, she called her supervisor, Sergeant Alan Foster. She explained the situation quickly, speaking quietly into her radio. She expressed concern that they had detained someone who appeared to be an actual FBI agent and that Henderson was refusing to verify his identity. Foster arrived within 10 minutes. He was a 20-year veteran of the department. He approached Henderson and asked for a briefing. Henderson explained that he had pulled over a suspect for erratic driving and that the suspect was claiming to be FBI but had suspicious credentials. Foster asked to see the credentials. He examined them under his flashlight. Unlike Henderson, Foster had worked with federal agents before. He recognized the credentials as genuine. The weight, the specific markings, the holographic elements, everything appeared authentic. Foster walked to the police cruiser where Vincent sat handcuffed in the back seat. He opened the door and asked Vincent to provide his supervisor's contact information. Vincent gave him Special Agent David Chen's direct cell phone number. Foster made the call. Chen answered after 2 rings. Foster identified himself and explained that they had detained someone claiming to be FBI agent Vincent Taylor during a traffic stop. There was a pause, then Chen's voice came through clearly, loud enough that Martinez, who stood nearby, could hear it. Chen confirmed that Vincent Taylor was indeed a federal agent under his supervision. He asked why Vincent had been detained. Foster explained the situation briefly. Chen's tone changed immediately. He asked if Vincent had been arrested. Foster confirmed that he was currently handcuffed in a police cruiser. Chen stated that he was contacting the FBI's Office of Professional Responsibility and that agents would be arriving at the location within the hour. He demanded that Vincent be released immediately and that all video footage be preserved. Foster agreed and ended the call. Foster walked directly to Henderson and ordered him to release Vincent immediately. Henderson protested, claiming that anyone could answer a phone and claim to be FBI. Foster overruled him directly and ordered Paulson to remove the handcuffs. Vincent was released from the police cruiser. Handcuffs were removed. Foster apologized directly to Vincent. Vincent did not respond to the apology. He asked for the names and badge numbers of all officers present. Foster provided the information without hesitation. Vincent returned to his vehicle. Everything from his car had been removed during the search and was scattered on the shoulder of the highway. His locked gun box had been forced open. His classified case files had been examined. He photographed everything with his phone before beginning to gather his belongings. Henderson started to leave the scene. Foster ordered him to remain until federal agents arrived. Henderson complied, but returned to his cruiser. Martinez and Paulson remained on scene as well, standing by their vehicles. The FBI arrived 45 minutes later. 3 agents stepped out of 2 black SUVs. They spoke with Vincent first, documenting his statement and photographing his scattered belongings. They then spoke with Foster, Martinez, and Paulson. Henderson remained in his cruiser until an agent knocked on his window and requested his statement. The agents seized all dashboard and body camera footage from the 3 police cruisers. They photographed Vincent's vehicle and documented the forced open gun box. They spent over 2 hours at the scene, conducting a thorough investigation. Henderson was placed on administrative leave the following morning. The police department opened an internal investigation. The FBI opened its own investigation into civil rights violations. The story remained quiet for about a week, known only to those directly involved and their supervisors. Then someone leaked the dashboard camera footage to a local news station. The footage went viral within hours. The video showed everything: Vincent's calm compliance, Henderson's mocking laughter, the refusal to verify credentials, the unlawful detention, and the illegal search. Public reaction was immediate and intense. The police department's phone lines were overwhelmed with calls demanding Henderson's termination. Protests began outside the police station. Community leaders called for a federal investigation into the entire department. The police chief, Robert Williams, held a press conference 3 days after the video leaked. He announced that Henderson had been terminated effective immediately. He apologized to Vincent and to the community. He promised a complete review of department policies and additional training for all officers. But the termination and apology were not enough. Vincent hired attorney Lisa Green, a civil rights lawyer with a strong track record of winning cases against police departments. She filed a federal lawsuit seeking $20 million in damages. The lawsuit named Henderson personally, along with the police department and the city. It alleged false imprisonment, unlawful search and seizure, violation of civil rights, racial profiling and emotional distress. The complaint was 47 pages long and included transcripts from the video footage, expert testimony about proper police procedures, and documentation of Henderson's previous complaints. The $20 million figure shocked many people, but Green explained her reasoning in a press conference. She broke down the amount into specific categories: compensatory damages for the unlawful detention and violation of rights, punitive damages designed to punish the behavior and deter future incidents, damages for the compromise of classified FBI materials, damages for emotional distress, and damages for the violation of Vincent's civil rights as a federal officer. The city's insurance company reviewed the case. Their legal team watched the video footage. They examined Henderson's history of complaints. They consulted with their own experts about police procedures and civil rights law. Their conclusion was troubling. The city had virtually no defense. Settlement negotiations began within a month. The city offered $2 million initially. Green rejected it immediately. The city increased to $5 million. Green rejected that as well. She stated publicly that the case would go to trial unless the settlement reflected the serious nature of the violations. The FBI's investigation concluded after 3 months. The report was damning. It found that Henderson had violated Vincent's civil rights, conducted an unlawful stop without probable cause, performed an illegal search, and demonstrated clear racial bias. The report also criticized the department's training and oversight procedures. More damaging information emerged during the discovery process for the lawsuit. Henderson's personnel file revealed that 12 of his 15 complaints had come from black drivers. The department had never analyzed this pattern. Internal Affairs had reviewed each complaint individually, but never looked at the collective data. Several of those 12 complainants came forward after seeing Vincent's story. They shared their experiences with Henderson. While none of their encounters had been as severe as Vincent's, they described similar patterns: pretextual stops, disrespectful treatment, and excessive scrutiny. Green added these witnesses to the case. What had started as one FBI agent's lawsuit became a broader examination of systemic problems within the department. The potential liability grew beyond the original $20 million. 6 months after the incident, the city agreed to a settlement. The terms were confidential, but sources close to the negotiations confirmed that the payout was in the range of the original demand. The settlement also required the police department to implement specific reforms: mandatory bias training, new oversight procedures, dashboard and body cameras in all vehicles, and an independent review board for complaints. Henderson faced additional consequences beyond losing his job. The state revoked his law enforcement certification, meaning he could never work as a police officer again anywhere in the state. He also faced potential federal criminal charges for violating Vincent's civil rights, though prosecutors ultimately decided not to pursue criminal charges, citing the civil settlement and other penalties. Vincent returned to his work at the FBI. He declined most media requests for interviews. In one brief statement, he said that what happened to him happened to countless others who didn't have an FBI badge to protect them. He hoped the case would lead to real changes that would protect everyone, regardless of their profession. The police department struggled with the fallout for months. Several officers resigned. Recruitment became difficult. Community trust, already fragile, deteriorated further. Chief Williams implemented the required reforms, but faced criticism that the changes were forced by a lawsuit rather than coming from genuine commitment to change. Martinez, the officer who had urged verification and called her supervisor, received a commendation for her actions. She was promoted to sergeant 8 months later. Paulson remained with the department but transferred to a different division. The case became a reference point in police training academies across the country. The video footage was used as an example of how a routine traffic stop could escalate into a federal lawsuit when officers allowed bias to override proper procedures and common sense. For 17 minutes on a Tuesday evening, a police officer let his prejudices override his training, his duty, and basic human decency. Those 17 minutes cost him his career, cost his department millions of dollars, and exposed systemic problems that had existed for years. The cameras captured everything, and this time there were consequences.